If I could talk to my 60-year-old self, these are the things I would say. That's how my conversation started with Ruth, who is now 75. Today, I'm sharing some eye-opening regrets of the 70-year-olds here in our community that I've spoken with. And trust me, number 3 took me by surprise and caused me to have a different look on retirement. Which of these things that we're going to talk about run closest to home for you? Share them, or at least think about them. And the 5 items are neglecting physical health, not downsizing or simplifying sooner, underestimating the importance of community, not planning for age-related health issues, not maintaining independence or control sooner. It's not running a marathon, it's about maintaining mobility. It doesn't take long into your 70s to realize that different things in our body don't heal quite as quickly. Like if you sleep wrong on your arm and all of a sudden you've got a neck pain or an arm pain, I have found that I have to prepare for a 6-month recovery. We're not even doing anything. Sometimes it takes that long, sleeping different, before that pain actually goes away. And it gets a little scary. And skipping regular exercise. For us, I think I've told you that we walk a lot, but when something comes up and the schedule changes or the weather gets bad or people come in, we aren't getting our walking in. And the next time we go back, maybe a week later, we realize that our stamina has changed. So exercising earlier, and it doesn't have to be big stuff, but it does make a difference. I know that women probably don't do this enough, and we really haven't got it in our heads why this is so important. And it's weight training and lifting. I think all of these pains and stuff would make a difference if we engaged in that weight training, even if it's minimal, and there's the stretch resistant bands, all those. So that was number 1, neglecting physical health, because after all, we're talking about grandchildren in these ages, and getting down on the floor and playing with them and getting back up. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Being with our grandkids, even if they're far away, but when you're with them, you want to play. So maintaining physical health. This one is a big one. And just want to let y'all know, I am not talking to just 70-year-olds. I'm talking to the 50, 55, 60, 65. Those of you who are thinking about it, why we got to this point and regretting some things because we didn't start sooner. This one is, I can't even imagine this, and I can. Not downsizing or simplifying soon enough. We left everything up north and came here, and we had 40 years of our stuff and our parents' things in the house that we had to get rid of. And we're so grateful that that has happened, but we've left family behind who are now facing the idea of moving into a smaller home, and they didn't get started sooner. And so just to think all that stuff now, 10 years later, we do not have the energy to lay a floor in the basement for selling and to drag things up and down the steps the way we had to and run them to the thrift store all the time. So start now, whatever age you are, start today, bin up something and get it out, because that's a regret that you really, really wish you had started sooner. And downsizing and moving, remember, you've got extra rooms in your house most likely now that are getting air conditioned and heated, and they're getting filled with more things, and they have to be cleaned once in a while because we all know that. Stairs, just people regret not leaving sooner because mobility and steps are very difficult. Now, I have to say, when we go north and everybody's got steps up there, we have trouble. So there's a pro and a con over this, because when you leave steps completely, you're missing an exercise that you did every day and weren't even realizing it. But manage that and get started sooner on this, because it is a major regret as you get older and you just can't do it anymore. Let me just say, the freedom of less stuff outweighs the comfort of keeping everything. Understanding the importance of community. Money cannot hug you when you're lonely. Obviously, family is first, and so many people have to outweigh whether it's family or a new destination, and if we're moving, how far, and all the pieces that are involved in that. When we left, all of our grandkids were out of the house and had full lives. Nobody was married at the time. So when we left, we knew that we had to plan for the exciting events that were going to happen in their lives. But these were, every year, not everybody was going to get married the same year. So do you stay with the family? Are your grandchildren small enough that you're going to be needed and that you're still going to enjoy all those birthday parties and sporting events? Or are you in a position where you can say, we'll be back in a few months, we'll come see you? So that's a big one. And some people do regret that. We have neighbors right now who have only been here for 2 years, and they are Floridians, but they just sold their house because they needed to get closer to their daughter who has young children, and they get to be grandma and grandpa. So there are regrets that you don't quite catch soon enough and the needs of your family. So that does change, and something you need to talk about. And we talked about, I said, well, if we need to go home, we will fly home. Another thing to think about when you are moving away and community is medical access. Are you going to be able to get to a new doctor or hospital soon enough? Or are they going to be really far away? Like we have some family that are like 3 hours away from the better hospitals. And when you come from the Philadelphia area, that Philadelphia has some pretty great medical care. And so you get kind of dependent on that, or it's like a given that you're understanding and appreciating. You get away, and other areas where some people actually go out of the country, medical care is different. And those of us who have been healthy most of our lives don't really catch that. But when something happens and that need is there, we wish the medical care was a little bit closer. So that is something else that some people regret, not being closer to the medical care that they have their families and they have known so well. Think about that. The other beauty of being in community is that you do have family, you have friends that check in on you. When we go away, we record it to the community, to the office on who has our key and who they can contact if there's a problem. And that person with the key checks our house a couple times a week or once a week if it's a long term, just to make sure a water pipe didn't break and there's some flooding, or there's a bug issue, or there's mold, or they just check in just to show that there's some activity even. But knowing that they're there is such a comfort. Retirement by ourselves in our original home has a different picture in our minds, and we are so blessed to have made the choices that we have and to have the friends that we have. Whether you're in a retirement community or your home, whatever community you establish, that is your new lifeline. And it takes the pressure off the kids. When our son came down here after we moved here, he left so excited because he knew he could safely leave us and felt good about it. He knew we were in a good spot and we had already made friends. And of course, he went into the pub that night and was doing karaoke and was buying drinks for everybody. But we don't do that because we don't drink, or we don't drink much. But your community, whether it's home, whether it's at the gym, whether it's at church, whether it's in your neighborhood, that community is your new lifeline. George and Helen regretted for not making some adjustments to their home, because as an accident happened, there were some things that would have really managed their mobility better if they had thought about age-related safety issues in the house. When we moved here, we thought, oh, look at these big bars in the shower and the tub. They're also by the commode. Having safety features in your home is important. In a heartbeat, you can have an injury or an illness where they are so important in your safety and getting around and actually your well-being. Because if you can get off the toilet by yourself and not have to have somebody come and help you, wow, that's huge, isn't it? So some people really, Helen and George regretted not doing that sooner. Another problem is transportation. Think about when something happens and eventually you can't drive anymore. How are you going to manage getting around? Fortunately, many people now have their groceries come in and there are bus services, and our community has people who are, you pay them. You want to make sure you check out who that is before you're sent home from the hospital with nothing in place. Having an emergency response system is key. Polly fell. 3 days later, somebody finally checked in on her because they hadn't seen her or heard from her and she wasn't answering the phone. She had a broken leg, her hip. So afterwards, obviously her family had an alert in place, But neighbors also said, if you don't get your newspaper by 10 o'clock, I'm coming to check on you every day. Figure out what is best for you, what you need to put in place, and who's going to touch base and keep in touch with you. Was that a regret? Yes, everybody regretted that. And guess what? Many people around here took advantage of that warning and put more things in place to make sure that we're all taken care of. So plan for your independence by planning ahead for your assistance. Have any of these resonated with you yet? Which ones do you think, oh, I need to take care of that? And which ones are you surprised about? So the last one, not maintaining independence or control early enough. It is so easy, especially when you're far away. You want to give your kids, probably even when you're close by, it's nice to have your kids take care of you and to check in on you. And suddenly you realize things are getting I'm getting real dependent on them. You know what? And this is kind of fun until there's a shift. And then they want to say, no, I don't think you should be going out. Well, what time are you going out? Well, make sure you call me when you get home. That independence feels really threatened. And you're losing control because you've given away some control. So be careful. One thing that's really difficult is nobody ever really is comfortable talking about, well, what happens when there's one of you or you have to have somebody with you. The kids may assume you're coming to live with them. You may assume you're staying put. And if you wait too long and there hasn't been an open conversation about that, there's some conflict and they feel anxious and they feel like they've lost control and you know you've lost control. This is a big one. This is a regret that people need to work on and have communication about. Independence is not about doing everything yourself, but it is maintaining control over the things that are important to you. And the more you give up, the more you actually lose. So think about that so there's no regrets. And be sure to verbalize your choices with your family and stay involved in your decisions and talk them through. But start planning. Just start planning, but don't give up all your control and your independence. At 70, maintaining independence is not refusing help, but it is staying in control of your own story, because the decisions you make now or don't make will affect your autonomy for years to come. I hope you've taken some time to reflect on your own situation and what maybe you think is important to put in place. Again, throw out a bag of trash. Just do that today. It'll feel so good. But share in the comments what area you realize now as of today that I need to think about and make sure it doesn't get out of control. Be sure to subscribe if this has been helpful at all. Even share with a friend and check out this video before you leave. Have a great day and God bless.